Welcome back to Talking Point here on WESN Content Capitals, and to bring back some sort of sanity to Sean and I this morning after our rant, we welcome from today.
We didn't even get into the 600 cases the last 2 days each, but you know, that's,
COVID is not real. It's not real, Anyway, we have Dr. Faith B. Israel joining us via Zoom this morning. Good morning, Dr. B. Israel.
Hi, good morning. And I totally understand the need for the rant. I have them almost every day. I start my day with almost panic attacks. It's not a healthy place to be if you are a health professional and if you understand what's happening. I am hoping that my conversation this morning would help us a little bit because, yes, we all thought that Delta was this variant from hell because it was probably double infectious. It was getting more people more sick. It was killing more people. But lo and behold, we just got word that there is what they call it the South African, Botswana, so it's really Southern African strain. So, what it's called, the official title, the variant is B.1.1.529. What does that mean? It doesn't matter. Most likely it will get a Greek name, like how we have the Alpha, Beta, Gamma, and we have Delta. We will get a Greek name for this eventually. And the WHO, let me explain two quick things. What the WHO does is that in every country, whenever there's a positive COVID-19 case, a sample of all of the cases are sent to a special lab to do genetic testing. So that is how we know we have a couple cases of Delta, in Trinidad and Tobago, because of the thousands and thousands of cases we have. They picked a couple of them and sent them to I think the lab is in UAE, where they're able to do genetic testing. And by the way, that kind of testing is very, very expensive. It's very technical. That's why they can't test every single case. So they just do a sample. And that information from every country that reports to the WHO is sent to the WHO every so often, and the WHO monitors to see whether the virus looks the same as it did before. So let me explain how these variants come about. When the virus gets inside of you, so you scratch your eyes or somebody sneezed and the virus got inside of you, it then goes into your cells and it tricks your cells into multiplying it. So the virus all by itself outside of your body will die because it cannot replicate on its own. It needs our body, a human body, or if it's an animal virus, an animal body to replicate. So it tricks the cells into replicating. Now the thing though is that during that replication process, the genetic material, in essence, the parts of the virus that makes up the RNA, that makes up the protein that becomes the RNA, those are called nucleotides. The nucleotides can multiply exactly the way they are. So you have one virus looks exactly like the other virus. But mutation happens in some instances where one virus goes into the cell, but for some reason, when the cell is multiplying it shifts, so it changes the nucleotides a little bit, which then causes the protein to change a little bit, which then causes the RNA to change a little bit. So when we say we have variants, it is because the virus that went into our body is not the same thing that is now coming out, that was multiplied and is now coming out of our body. Those are variants. In many instances, the variants cause no harm. In some instances, the variants actually kill the virus. In COVID-19, though, some of the variants that we are seeing have been causing the virus to be more infectious, meaning more people get sick, causing the virus to be more deadly, meaning more people who get sick will get very sick and will die, which is what we saw with Delta. The bad thing about this one coming out of South Africa is that it seems to have mutated way more than the virus that we had before. So it looks different. It physically looks different. The genetic makeup of it looks different. And a big chunk of what looks different is the spike protein, which is that area of the virus that connects to the cell that allows it to go inside of the cell. The reason we were trying to get people, or we are still trying to get people to be vaccinated, and by the way, I spend almost every night listening to Jacinda Ardern, who is the Prime Minister of New Zealand. She's actually one of my favorite world leaders as it relates to COVID-19 management. She has her press conferences almost every night, and I watch almost every one. They started vaccinating people months after the rest of us, and they are now at an 84-85% vaccination rates in New Zealand for those who are eligible to get the vaccine. So of course we're talking about, you know, adults and children over 12 and that kind of thing. They are 80-something%, which is amazing. The reason we are saying that you need to get vaccinated is because when you are vaccinated, that prevents the spread of the virus, one, so it reduces the spread of the virus. It reduces the amount of virus that multiplies inside of you, just in case you are one of those people who do get a breakthrough infection. And it actually prevents, so because you have the vaccine inside of you, your body is able to respond faster to the virus and is able to fight it faster, so it does not multiply as quickly as somebody who does not have the vaccine inside of them. This is the critical point, because when the variance, the mutation happens when the virus multiplies. So if we have a situation that simply allows the virus to multiply, we are allowing the variants, the mutations to happen. That is why we were begging, please go and get your vaccine, because that is helping. The narrative that some of us had, that even if you had the vaccine, you still get the virus, that is a lie. It was said in a way where it's like it doesn't matter, when in fact the science proves that it did matter. Yes, there were some people who got vaccinated and who got infected, but those numbers are small, minuscule compared to the numbers who were unvaccinated and getting the virus. We were begging you, or we've been begging you. Personally, I have been begging people to get vaccinated, because I know our capacity in Trinidad and Tobago. And more than Trinidad and Tobago, I know our capacity in Tobago. We now have a situation where we have, 5 or 6 ICU beds, and our reports of COVID-19 is 9. I have no idea how we have 9 people when we only have 5 or 6 ICU beds. What is happening? And if we allow this to just keep going the way it is going, it means we are going to have way more people who need ICU care, and we simply do not have this space to put them. It means our brothers, our sisters, our mothers, our aunts, our uncles are going to die. That is what that means. They are going to die. And I am passionate about this because, to be honest, I have personally experienced so much death right around me, right in my village. People who I talked to one day and 3 days later they're in the hospital. Couple days after that they've died. There is one situation where I know an entire family. We buried one brother. 2 weeks later we buried the other brother. This is not something to play with. And that is why we've been pushing people so much. Please get the vaccine, because it is working. Unfortunately though, because we've allowed it to go so far, if that other variant comes to Trinidad and Tobago, I don't know what we're going to do, because it seems like it is actually going to be even deadlier, even more infectious than Delta. We thought Delta was bad. This other one is saying, watch me work, because we have all just allowed it to happen. It goes back to personal responsibility. It goes back to actually listening to the science, because the science is what has actually caused many of us to be alive to this point. Yes, all of us, or most of us, because we have some of the highest rates of childhood vaccination, 90-something%. Every single childhood vaccine, over 90-something%. The reason why most of us are alive is because we were vaccinated as children. Let us not try to be too woke as they say, because our wokeness means we are spreading incorrect information, and that is a big chunk of the problem. We can't just allow this to happen, or we will continue having a healthcare system that will soon crash. It will soon crash.
Dr. Israel, quick, we read a comment, Keaton read a comment about natural immunity. Some people are thinking that is the way to go. That's better than vaccines. If you could just, beyond the fact of what you said with mutations, just reiterate again the risks of trying to depend on that.
Well, the thing about trying to depend on natural immunity is that if you survive getting COVID, then you may have natural immunity. But the natural immunity, again, because the variants are changing so much, we are getting people who got COVID before have some level of natural immunity, but because that natural immunity was not to the spike protein, which was the most stable part of the virus, they got infected a second time and then a third time. So in this case, natural immunity is really not working in your benefit, and you will only benefit from natural immunity if you are not dead. That is the critical issue. So if you have to survive the infection first to then get natural immunity.
Dr. B. Israel, from where I am, I can usually see helicopters landing in Mount Hope with patients aboard, and over the last couple of weeks, almost every day and every night, so it's not just once, it's multiple times, I've seen the helicopters landing in Mount Hope, and that alone tells you the situation that's taking place on our sister isle, and in Trinidad and Tobago, in Trinidad as well, my apologies, we know what this situation is like. So it's extremely alarming, it's extremely scary, and furthermore, as you said, natural immunity, and this Botswana variant, the spike protein, is so different. It has roughly, they're predicting it has roughly 30 different mutations that the body itself may not recognize. So if you're depending on natural immunity and you contract COVID-19, and you're still depending on natural immunity, it's so hard to educate, but I guess we'll just not stop. We won't stop trying. We'll just continue pushing our very best. But Dr. B. Israel out in Tobago, thank you very much for taking the time to join us this morning and educate us a bit further on this Botswana variant. I know as things continue, Sean and I will try to bring more information, but to start the conversation, thank you very much, and we wish you all the very best going forward.
Continue to stay safe, Dr. B. Israel.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
All the best. Folks, Dr. Faith B. Israel out in Tobago. It's Friday. Dr. B. Israel joins us. It's a sign it's Friday, but that does not mean it's a sign to be irresponsible and be immature about the situation. So as we break for news on the hour, I will inform you once more. Put on your mask, please. Watch your distance. Wash your hands. We'll be right back after this.